Oh, really?
Alright, everybody, thank you for coming. So if you could, grab your last pieces of pizza, a drink, a seat, and I would like to start our session tonight. So first let me introduce Kimball. So I first met Kimball last year in Singapore when I was at the Agile tour Singapore. And what intrigued me was Kimball did a keynote. Yeah, he did the keynote at Agile Singapore. And one of the interesting things was in the world Agile, a lot of people talk about process, methodology. But Kimball's keynote was about empathy. About how do we just work with people, how do we treat people. And a lot of times in the world Agile, that doesn't get enough attention. A lot of times we're just looking at process, method, follow this, follow that. We kind of forget that in the heart of Agile, the manifesto is really about people. Right? So, Kimball graciously took, he's from Singapore, so he made a trip down here, and I asked him, can you please help me do a meetup? And he agreed, so thank you, Kimball. And basically deliver his keynote for us. Right? So you don't have to go to Singapore because I brought people to Malaysia. Okay? Just a little bit about Kimball. Kimball is a professional consultant who focuses on communication influence. That's right, influence. So a lot of times in Agile, even though we have like managers and directors and management structure, because at its heart is about people, it's also about winning the heart, winning the emotions. And that comes through persuasion and influence and motivation. So today's talk will be in that space. The talk's going to take about 45 minutes. And I'm allocating probably about half an hour for Q&A. Yes. So without further ado, keep on going.
Okay, well, thank you guys for having me. My name is Gio, so here to share a little bit more with you about leading with the heart. So let's just get beginning. Oh, God! I'm joking, guys. Look, sometimes leadership is about understanding dynamics and people and energy, and I just made that little kind of spot because it shifts the direction of how we think, how we feel. So I just want to start off. Hands up if you wish you were a more effective leader, someone who can persuade somebody, get people, understand. Put your hands up. Come on, people. Put your hands up if you don't want to be a more effective leader. Someone who can persuade and engage and inspire. Put your hands up. There. And put your hands up if, no matter what I ask you, you're not going to put your hand up. Thank you for being honest. Look, today's topic is created because I think that when you lead with the heart, when you really understand people, the dynamics behind it, we can achieve amazing results. You can understand so many different things. You can understand the root cause of a lot of issues. You can actually remediate these issues. But on top of that, you can inspire and lead and move people and really create change, impact that lasts. That lasts. Why? Because today we're in a society that is
That doesn't work, I'll be your finger.
maybe it's flowing.
No?
Uh-oh. Sorry. Technical difficulties. So in today's society, there's a rise in conflict globally. Right? I'm talking about this because there's so much things that are happening in the world. We see that today, we know what's happening here, abroad. There's a lot of concern about the situation. And that's because we're not really thinking about the heart, the people. We're noticing that there's a rise in intolerance, right? Rhetoric. Yet we accept it. And yet there's so many people are rising to it, drawn to it, want it. To be honest, this guy, I believe, is a master of communication. He understands people very well. But he takes the knowledge he has in a way that we may not agree. He understands it. That's why he can galvanize people. That's why he scares people. Because he understands people as well. He understands the emotion and the empathetic aspect of life. And because of that, you notice that today, there's a lot of responses getting more and more extreme. More and more extreme. Police in the US, Michigan, you guys know what happens, right? This is full-on military warfare looking right here. Yeah? For what? Local crime. And because of that, a lot of us are now starting to feel a greater sense of isolation. A greater sense of kind of just being alone, exhausted because of the way the situation is unfolding. It continues to unfold. Because we live in a world that seems to be dog eat dog. We kind of expect it. That's what we say. This is a world that is dangerous, it is rough, that we live in a dog eat world. And therefore, all we end up doing is competing, not really working together. And all we see is then resistance, because when you go hard, the other person goes hard too. That's human nature. Even if it's the right thing, if someone goes against you, you generally go against them too. And therefore, it leads to a sense of hopelessness. I feel a sense of exhaustion. I feel a sense of, what am I to do? And those who can really understand that can also drive and utilize it, like I mentioned, Mr. Trump. Now, I want you guys to close your eyes. Close your eyes through an exercise here. Okay. Close your eyes. Imagine that you were born blind. Imagine that you couldn't see anything at all. And imagine that the two people beside you, in the front, in the back, to the left, or to the right, are also blind. So two in the front, two to the side. Imagine there's 5 of you now who've never traveled, who've never seen anything like an elephant. And I take you over and I ask you to grab a part. And I ask, what is an elephant? This is an elephant. What is it? And you yourself, you hold the leg. What do you think an elephant is? Well, it feels like a tree, like a trunk. Okay? You go to your colleague and you say, what do you think an elephant is? I think it's a brush. An elephant is a brush because you hold the tail. The other one, you ask, what is it? I think it's a spear. A spear because he's holding the tusk. And now you guys can open your eyes. Yeah? And none of them are wrong. You're not wrong, they're not wrong, but you don't have the full perspective. And now, in our day and society, sometimes we feel, oh, that person is wrong, I'm right. Well, how come that person's not listening? Well, think about it. If we act in a certain manner, in a certain way, why do you think the other person would not as well? And if we refuse to really be empathetic, take in the other person's perspective, we'll never see the full picture. We'll be blurred. And not only that, we end up in conflict. See, the big problem is that, the decline is because I believe in empathy. The big problem is that empathy is in decline. And a research done in the United States by the University of Michigan in 2000, across 14,000 individuals, comparing college students from 1970, 80, 1990s, 2000 shows 40% decline in empathy. 40% decline. 20% of that declined between 1990 and 2000. And I'd be very curious to see what it would be today in comparison. Empathy, the ability to just think about the other person, be in that person's shoes. And it's starting at a younger age. Some principals are saying that they're noticing that 12-year-old children in their school had an empathy level or acted in a way of thinking, oh, that person was hurt or something occurred, as if they were an 8-year-old. 12-year-old to an 8-year-old level of empathy. That's scary. And it's getting worse. I believe it's getting worse. We did this research again. Why do I think that? Well, I think that the way our world is evolving, it is creating this tension, this fixed kind of mindset of this is who we are, this is what I think, this is how we should interact. That person needs to listen. How come they're not listening? What is going on? Yet we also realize if you're not being empathetic to them, why would they be empathetic to you? Right? And part of the reason I think this is occurring, part of society, is that we have a new set of technology, a new change in the way we interact. For example, who do you see normally? You see a curated image, an avatar, a smiling face all the time, right? They seem to be perfect. We have that. We've seen that. Then people get distraught. But they never show their real face because they go, if everyone's having a good time online, I should be too. But you don't see the real person. You don't see the real person behind that who can actually be quite sad, quite stressed out. Now, another part that you can see that's manifesting is, our phones. We have a new culture called texter culture. How often has this happened to you? You're supposed to meet someone at 5 p.m. And what happens? 4:45, 5:55, 5:10, they say what? Sorry, I'm still coming. It happens. It's okay, right? That's not a bad thing in and of itself. Happens once, happens twice, happens 3, 4, 5, 10, 6, 20 times, 100 times. What's going on? Right? It actually is a distraction to real genuine interaction, because when you do that, when that occurs, you don't really get to see the other person. You don't even need to know that that person is frustrated, that person is waiting for you. Right? That person is frustrated, that person is waiting for you, because it's a simple text message. And what's worse, you can see that it's happening even more so. I've seen dinners where the whole family's on their phone. I was thinking, wow, that's family interaction. And it was one of the son's birthday. A few minutes later, they came, hey, happy birthday, you, happy birthday to you. Hey, snap photos, and then back to this. Right? And we're actually training people, not sure why it keeps changing, training people to actually hide in this. To avoid difficult conversation. Have you noticed that when you're waiting and you realize there's nothing to do, you just take out your phone? Because you just don't want to be the only person standing going like that? You notice that when you have a tough conversation, people actually start picking up their phones and start trying to find distractions. These type of things is causing us to be unable to connect to the other person. Let's use an example more work-related. If you had, let's say, someone like Mohammed, a superstar in his world, right? Straight A's, great at his job, development, whatever it is. You hire him because he's so good, and you start training him up, and he starts performing pretty well for the first year, 2 years, and then he starts kind of plateauing, and then he starts dropping. And if you're just thinking, oh, well, maybe he's just lazy, maybe he doesn't want to do it, maybe he's not as good as he thinks he is, or we thought he was, maybe it was a bad hire, right? Or maybe you may be a bit more empathetic, and I can agree with this part, is that he's afraid, terrified, because he made one mistake before. A mistake that shattered his image of who he is. Because he used to be a superstar. He used to succeed all the time. And now when you stop and you make one mistake, you're no longer the superstar. You're no longer the best. In the eyes of others and in the eyes of yourself. I'll use my own example. When I was like 10 years old, I can't remember. I was in martial arts class, Taekwondo. And the teacher was really upset with everyone. The sensei, right? Or Taekwondo master, and he said, you guys need to be like Kimball. He is so good, he's down time, he's always here, he does the moves. And at that moment, I was like, I was feeling great. And then guess what? 3 weeks later, I was late for class. I could not bear it. I quit Taekwondo completely. Completely. I shattered, in his mind, the image of me, and I shattered myself as well. I could not face it. And I think there's a lot of people in today's society like this. These are the guys I call my friends back home. The guys who live in the basement of the mother's house. The guys who say, you know what? That's stupid. I don't want to do that. I don't need to do that. Only people like you or whoever do that. It's an actual way of protecting themselves from failing, from losing that image of who they are. As an example of maybe one way why someone may not be performing. Maybe another example we can consider. John. John's a pretty good manager. He works hard, he helps you as a team. But then you notice recently he's starting getting stressed out, and it's not working. Things are getting tough. And promotion comes by, and you guys are working hard, promotion, bonus time comes in, and basically, you guys don't get a bonus. At all. You get angry, John, what's going on? Where's my bonus? Or Joseph, where's my bonus? What's going on? I work so hard, how come you're not showing any love? What's going on? I've dedicated my life to you, my years. I've worked so late. Maybe he doesn't share. But maybe he's under massive pressure to cut his budget. Maybe he was told, you need to cut someone in your team. You need to cut someone from your team. He says, who am I going to cut? I need everybody, and I believe in them. And he somehow negotiated, right or wrong, that the bonus, instead of being a bonus, was used to keep someone on for one more year till things grow. How tough would that be? Because he gets stressed out because of his boss saying he needs to change his budget, fix his budget. And then he also stressed out because he has a team who hates him now because they didn't get a bonus for working so hard. But at the same time, he did it so that he could make sure everyone still had a job, so they could feed their children, their family, whatever it is. Now sometimes we don't take that perspective, but when we do, you can then consider, oh, John, how can I help? Thank you, John. I would be in such gratitude because it could have been me who got cut from my job. Now, there's obviously different dynamics to it because maybe he didn't communicate, maybe he wasn't allowed to, maybe he was afraid to share that. But that's perspective. That's perspective. Let's take another example. Perhaps Mei Mei. She's a product manager. And she sits in between the customer and the development team, the operations team. And she's getting squeezed because she needs to hit a target. She needs to do her job, but she gets fired. Or that the customer is one of the big customers that she cannot muck up on, and they're asking for such ridiculous things. And then she goes to her operations team, and they cannot produce it. And they go, why are you like that? You don't understand how to manage expectation. Why are you making deals and offerings that we cannot fulfill? And she gets squeezed on both sides, and she feels alone and isolated because no one really trying to consider her position. And she's trying to consider both. Okay, she's going to run back here. Can we do that instead? Well, can you accept that? Can you do that instead? Right? These are examples of where empathy could really make a big difference. From that feeling, like I said, of isolation, exhaustion, of hopelessness, of being alone. Yeah. So, the next topic is then, how do we do that? How do we help? I think it's important that we lead with the heart. Lead with the heart. Can I ask you, what do you guys think leadership is? Toss it out.
Influencing.
Sorry?
Influencing.
Influencing? Okay. Hero. A hero? Okay, interesting. Why do you say that?
Because that's what Hollywood movies.
Cool. Others? What is it?
Inspiration.
Sorry?
Inspiration.
Inspiration? Yeah. Okay, good.
Direction.
Direction? Okay. Good. Others? Please, I need encouragement. I talk a lot, so I need you guys to share.
Communication.
A leader use we instead of I.
We versus I. Okay, good. Interesting. Someone else on this side? Passion. Good. Anyone else? One more in the back?
I think leadership is just managing expectations.
Managing expectations. Good. Actually, I'm just going to bring it down to something very basic, right? The ability to influence others towards an outcome. So you can also have good and bad leaders. I hate to say it, Donald Trump is doing a pretty good job being a bad leader, I think. Yeah? But he's able to galvanize and get people because he understands them and empathizes them. Because those individuals felt isolated, lost, hopeless. His methods, his means, and his ideas may not be agreeable, but he's very good at it. And that's what scares a lot of people. So, I want to talk about good leadership as the individuals positively influence others towards a positive outcome. Just a definition that I put together. Then I want to ask you the concept of what do you think is the difference between management and leadership? Just from your ideas. Okay? There's no right or wrong answers. Your thoughts. Anybody?
I think that leadership is about being mad enough to accept responsibility for everything, while management is to somehow manage all those responsibilities and allow the people to decide for themselves how they use it.
Okay, interesting. Okay, accepting responsibility, but then the other one is delegating, allowing them to take that kind of accountability. Okay. Others?
Yeah, I would say that management's more on taking responsibility for resources
Mhm.
and how they allocate it. Whereas leadership, it comes down to that motivation, the human factor,
Mm.
and is motivating people to achieve an objective.
Okay, good. Motivation and resource allocation versus resource allocation.
Management is working on a system, while leadership is changing the system to work better.
Okay.
Or do right things and do things right.
Awesome. Working with the system versus adapting, changing, moving it forward. The system. Okay.
Management is operations, leadership is strategy.
Operations and versus strategy. Interesting. Okay. Good. Good. Anyone else?
Controlling and controlling versus a good example.
Okay. Controlling versus being an example. Good example. These are all very good reviews, definitions that we have. And mine, again, is just a definition. And the way I see it, and by the way, there's nothing wrong with being in management. There's nothing good about necessarily being a leader. Everything can be a mix, and they're not mutually exclusive. Yeah? I use it, and I talk about this in terms of mindset, in the way we apply our life and how we work together, as either in Agile or just in normal, other types of work. Yeah? And I see that management often is very reactive in a way. Issues crop up, direction's been given, then I go out and try to figure it out within the system that's been given. Right? Whereas the leaders come out and try to figure out what is the long term, how do I be proactive, how do I switch, how do I change? Okay? Second, I call it is, management often is more risk focused, whereas leadership I would consider outcome focused. I want to make sure the system works. I want to manage the problems, the issues, the people, etc. Whereas you lead people, right? You lead change. Now again, just mindset, no specific components about people and different roles, but it's just how we think. And of course, I believe the last part is that often task orientation versus people orientation. So when you're doing risk, you tend to look at risk and the task, the items in it of itself. When you take on leadership, you think of it as a people, you look at the people to help you achieve the task, to make sure that certain risks don't occur, but also because in the end, there's something you want to achieve, a big outcome. Yeah? And then you're being proactive. Now these are just shifts in the mind and how we consider it, so that when you look at yourself and your team and you see, am I managing or am I leading at this moment? Where should I manage and where should I lead? And it's a balance between that. Certain things happen, you need to manage. Manage the situation, a firefight, whatever. Unhappy client. But then, when things have opportunity, then lead, take charge. I can make this better. I think we can do it this way. I think we can change. I think we can adapt. I think we can be very agile in our mindset of how we work today. It's just a mindset shift to help you. Because if you can share that with your team and they think it in this manner, they say, take leadership, take ownership, take accountability. Go out there. Make a big outcome. Make a big impact. It can last. That's why I think empathy is very important. And it's super important because, well, it allows you to be in someone else's shoes and actually see what may be limiting them, what is maybe stopping them, what may be causing the barrier, the obstacle, the current situation. Yeah? Because it might be a little bit more complex than we think, and the person doesn't want to do it, or they're not, there's not making enough money for that person. It could be very complex, as I shared with a few examples earlier on. For example, when we think about perspectives, right? We try to think of sitting in their shoes. So if someone's getting yelled at for some reason, whatever reason, right? Think about it. Why would they be? Why would they accept it? What's driving them? What's allowing them to do that? How would they react? What would stop them from reacting? I always use that as an example when you want to try to understand people. How would we interact in a natural, normal pace, and how would we react in a stress space? When you see that, then you can help understand some of the thought process, some of the feelings that go through the individual. And the thing is, a lot of us think that we don't, empathy is something you need to develop, and it's something you do need to develop. But it's something that we all had as a child, as a youngin. When you see a photo like this, you feel it, right? You feel like, because in a way you're thinking, look at the joy of this young child. The happiness. I was happy when I was a kid, having something very interesting, fun We often look at childhood as a reflection to good days, nicer days, better days. Less stress. But then what happens over time is you try to block that off and try to be too cold, too calculative. And there's nothing wrong with using the head. But sometimes the heart will give you the right guidance. Because when you think of the head, there's so many different options. In the heart, there seems to be just one option. Right? Very clear. That's why I think empathy is very important. I want to share with you, there are kind of two types of empathy that we can consider. Okay? And it's something that we all have and we do. First is cognitive empathy. The second is emotional empathy. What exactly is cognitive empathy? Well, let's consider it. What would you consider when you design a car? Anyone? What are the things you're considering?
Safety.
Safety. Okay.
Should move from point A to point B.
Okay. And these moves at point A to point B. Very good. Functionality though, sir. What else?
Features.
Sorry?
Features.
Features. Okay. Features.
My mom always looks at the
Money.
boot size.
Boot size. Okay.
Sales.
Sorry?
How much you gonna sell that car?
Price, you can make money out of it. Okay. Interesting.
Budget.
Design. Budget. Yeah. What else? Target group. Okay. How? How do we consider them?
Say for example, it's a family car or it's a sedan or car.
Okay. So what does that mean? Because you put categories: family car and sedan car. What does it mean?
7 seaters and 5 seaters.
Sorry.
7 seaters and 5 seaters.
7 seaters and 5 seaters. Yeah. So what happens is you're all implying certain things when we say stuff, right? We're not really looking into the deep of it. When you say, "Oh, will they take a family car versus a sedan?" The assumption is they know what a family car is and what a sedan is and how it's different from each other. But we don't talk about it to the depth of it, right? So when we talk about cognitive, we try to think of very cognitively. How would they use it? Well, if they have 6 kids, they'll probably want a 7-seater. Well, if they need to go fast, though, they might not get this one, right? I don't know. You think of it very logically, very cognitively. How would they use it? How would they drive it? How would it feel, right? From that kind of angle. So that's cognitive. We do that all the time when you design code, when you're creating products for people. You're trying to think of how would they use it? How would they interact with it? What do they need? Yeah? And then, what is emotional empathy? Well, emotional empathy is like designing something like this. It does all the same things as the other one, except for maybe the seater, number of seats. But this one is priced so much more, and people will go out of their way to pay for it. Why? Because there's an emotional component to it. Right? We're going to talk about how they feel when you have a car like this. Maybe it's the feeling of power that I can drive at certain speeds, even though you really can't. I know in Malaysia you could sometimes on the highway, but could be the case. Could be the feeling of, I am so good, that's why I can afford something. It's the feeling of pride and glory. It's a consideration of that. So emotional empathy is talking about that person's feelings. How would they feel with the product? So the features is one thing. We've had products with lots of features. You think about it, Japanese cars versus sometimes continental cars, right? Very feature loaded. Price point still low. Brand image still not that high. There's no glory to it. Whereas those actually may not have that many features, but people pay a lot more for it. Because there's a different thing that they feel when they use it. And they really understand, and that's why they curate products like that. And that's a way of doing empathy. I'll use an example I always find interesting. Apple versus Android. Who here has an Apple? Just put your hand up. Okay? And why do you guys have an Apple? Can I ask? The best? Okay. Yeah. That was good. No, please, guys. Very fair share. Yeah? Anyone else?
Software is stable and reliable.
Software stable and reliable. Okay. Yeah. Nice. Else?
My husband bought it for me and for me to use it.
Okay. Why did your husband buy it for you?
Huh?
Why do you think he bought it for you?
Because he thinks it's the best.
Nice. Okay. Others? And why would you buy Android? Who has Android? Hands up. Android related. Why do you guys use Android? Sorry?
It's the best.
The best?
So getting more money.
Open source, yeah? See, what I find it very interesting, I too use an Android, right? And I get that. I gotta get frustrated with Apple's closed system where you can't do certain things, right? You gotta like have to follow the procedures, the software. Yet they outsell quite a lot. And I always find that quite interesting because I remember one time my colleague at investment banking said, Kimball, look at this iPhone 5. It has a panoramic photo thing, right? And I'm like, tons of phones have that right now for a while. But he was so proud of it. And he was like, look at this cool new phone that I have and all these things that's there. Apple understands the emotional component. And that's why they sell so well. Now, maybe not to you guys emotionally, but for others, it does. Right? The way the description is much more, it's awesome, it's good, it's user-friendly, I love it, it's community, yeah. And then for Android guys, who generally win, who are promoting it, we'll talk about it has a lot of features, much more in a very logical, cognitive way of explaining it.
One more difference.
Sorry?
One more difference.
Yeah.
Apple has a good marketing team.
That's a good marketing team, yes. Because they understand, right? They understand that part of it is the marketing that helps you connect with the person. That's emotion. They put it into their products. They've designed it in that manner. So when you guys consider when you're doing your work, when you're interacting with your customers, whoever, be internal, external, are you always answering to them purely on a cognitive, empathetic level? They want this, they ask for this? Or are you looking at, maybe they get frustrated over using one specific product or a certain feature. I remember a consultant asked me one time, said, Kimball, I don't get it. Change is so difficult. I'm trying to create this new system for the shipping company. And the ladies are so resistant. And I said, what do you mean? And she goes, well, I'll give you a very example. Their system, I'm trying to make the layout a little bit nicer, UX and all that. And said, button, instead of writing the word on/off, I just want a button with the, the little logo to make it a bit smaller, to make the place a little bit neater. He said, they would completely reject it. They didn't want to even talk about it whatsoever. The ladies would say, no, I don't want to do with it. No, whatsoever. Logically, cognitively, you can say, well, that makes so much sense because it's cleaner, more efficient, allows you more space. We can argue till the cows come home. But the question is, what did you think how the women felt about this change? And was it just the change of that button, or the overall change? See, I had another example with a hotel. You know those ladies who do the trolleys? You know, they do your bed sheets? And it's heavy work, and after a certain amount of load, they have to go back and then dump off the stuff and keep going because it takes weight. So the manager thought it was a very good thing to give them electronic trolleys. Electronic trolleys where it just click, it kind of goes very easy, much more efficient, much more fast. They can kick their rooms quickly, blah, blah, blah. Again, mayhem. Cleaning ladies just refused. Refused completely. They said, what is wrong with these ladies? It's so much easier, it's so simpler. And the thing is, they didn't get the emotional component to it. Right? The failure in this case was, maybe, what if she made a mistake? What if she doesn't know how to use it? What if she breaks a multi-million-dollar several $100,000 product, right, versus something very simple within her control? What if this change causes me to slow down in my work for the first week, and then I get fired because I'm still learning how to use it? Now you understand the emotional components within this interaction, the way management did the product. They could have changed how they interacted, communicated, they trained, right? They understand how that person would adopt something. And often a lot of the things that we probably do in Agile and create, the adoption is the difficult part actually. They probably get it very cognitively, but something else inside is stopping them and they don't really understand why. We don't know. We just kind of think it's something blown up over something very small. And it's important to try to get into connection and depth with that person, to really try to find out. Okay? So the question is, how do you develop your empathy? How do you develop these qualities and skill sets to be successful? Right? Well, I have a simple system I call the Amplify system. And I'll just share with you guys. Step one, and I think is one of the hardest, and the one that people often very much overlook. It's just being real, being true to yourself and who you are, being aware of yourself. Being aware. Because how you may get frustrated, how you feel about a certain situation, understanding that first allows you to then step into the space of someone else. Understand what makes you happy. What makes you, have hope, joy? What makes you connect with somebody? Understand that from yourself. Because then you also understand what kind of barriers you face and why some certain little things just seem so difficult. Like how many of us maybe want to lose weight, exercise more. We understand it cognitively, we need to exercise and feel better and stronger and healthier, yet we don't do it. And then we'll pull out a bunch of excuses. No time lah, cost money lah, I like this food, what? Right? When you start understanding yourself, you understand the barriers to also others. Right? You understand that maybe there's something else limiting you you've never addressed. And then you can apply that to others as well. Maybe it's because I don't want to accept the change to the button. Because what if she makes the change to the button and she makes a bunch of changes? And then I hit the wrong key. I transfer $1 million somewhere else. I make some sort of error. Logical or not logical, there's a feeling of frustration, of angst, of unknown. Right? And if you get that, you can answer that very quickly, because then we say, don't worry, we'll work together. I'll be there with you. I'll hold your hand. I'll help you along. We'll do a lot of training. You won't be accountable for certain mistakes during the transition period, for example. Right? And then you connect with them. And then they're more willing to listen, to adopt, to trial, to change. But you yourself have to adopt and look and think about their position. Because then, when you do, they think about it from your perspective. So when you see that, we can also think of what makes you get into action, what motivates you. And often, once you understand what stops you, often it is fear. You know how to stop it. Get rid of it. Okay? Then you can understand where emotions come from. Right? What drives them, what makes them happy, smile, work faster, work slower, avoid certain situations. Okay? And it gives you the ability to have different perspectives now. Instead of thinking one fixed view, you realize that when I throw you a few different things, you might change your position because different variables come into play. And variables that you may have never considered because the other party has different experiences, right, from different angles. Yeah? And that's why I think it's very important when you start becoming self-aware, self-understanding ourselves. And it gives you the ability to see the full picture. Because you may only touch the trunk, or tusk, or the trunk, or the legs, or the tail. But as a group together, you can see it. So therefore, you no longer feel isolated as a group. Instead, you work together as a team. You're more open to communicate, talk, share, learn, and develop. And when you understand that, like I said, you understand how other people work. We're at fault of this too. I do it all the time. I just take up my phone. Take up my phone and I maybe notification, even though someone very important in front of me is telling me something very personal about their life, something that they're really in big distress. And once we start seeing that and aware of how we interact, and I'm sure when someone makes it, hey, I was telling you that someone of my important in my life passed away. Get shocked, right? Now, that's why self-awareness is so important, because once you understand yourself, you can understand certain situations of others, and then how to best communicate, and when is the right time to communicate at the same time. Yeah? So, if it's done well, you can create products that touch the soul. I don't think there's a video, right? Can't do the video, right? Can't do the video. Does the audio sound? Yeah? Yeah? Yeah. Can I play now? Yeah, I got a video that I want to share with you that I thought was very beautiful, very well made. That really touches this part. But anyways, I'll let you guys be the judge. Yeah. I'll let you guys be the judge of that. Magic, technology. Can't see. Still can't see. Okay, you guys tell me, am I close? Okay, this is a team building exercise. Yeah, exactly. Communication, guys. Right. So I will go by consensus. Right. I'm gonna do this right, guys.
Just start clicking.
No?
Stop.
Okay, click.
Down.
No?
Left click.
Down, okay. Down,
Down.
Oh, down. Click.
Up.
Okay.
Yeah! Don't push your mouth. guys feel that?
Yep.
Thank you. These things occurred. I feel this. Takes like, that's like.
But what is the point? How you can apply this feeling in the software development company? That is the fact. Your fancy pictures, we love them, okay, fine. But when I go to work, sorry, but some of my Asian friends never say hi, or they never say goodbye. They just like machine and they are working. What's the point of this video?
It's a good point. Actually, we'll go into it when we have questions, and I'll just wrap it up. Thank you for those good questions. So to continue, we can put the slide there. Product. In this case here, actually for this video, guess what the company is? It's life insurance. Life insurance. How is that relevant? What the heck's this point video all about? What does it do? Understanding emotions of people creates a bond, creates a willingness to work together, to even say hello, to even say goodbye, because maybe they don't even know. Maybe it's the unappreciative lady who gets the banana. But actually, when you open yourself up, they open themselves up too. If you don't, why do you expect they would? That's the whole point. That's the whole point. You're going to start with yourself first. And it's not easy because you're exposed and you can be hurt and someone can take advantage of you, and that's very true. But you're asking the same for them. You're asking the same. That's what makes us human, you see. If you want to treat people like robots, they'll treat you like robots. Treat you in a certain way, then the saying is, treat people like you want to be treated. But it's also the same thing. Treat others the way you treat them, you're probably going to receive the same back. Now, of course, that person has an open heart and willingness to be open, then they might be there to share with you, asking you to empathize with them and connect with them. That's why I like these videos. They give you that ability, one moment, just to feel that. And when you feel that emotion, you all of a sudden have a team that is more motivated, more willing to work together, less likely to cut each other down, and willing to solve problems. They lead the team. They're leading themselves and being a real person. And look, and you're right, I'm not giving you specific examples for Agile, but people, complexity is everywhere.
I
You can't
give you
systemize it.
personal experience. Make you any question.
Yep. We can go that in a second, I guess, yeah. Yeah, it's everywhere, right? Human commotion is everywhere. If you deal with people, you're going to deal with that. Unless you literally put them down to numbers and words, don't expect any difference from the other people. It's just the way life is. So I say this because if you can really become the master of this type of thing, and it's not easy, it takes time to develop, it grows, and it could be very painful. Someone can take advantage of you. People have taken advantage of others. But you can take it. You can create something beautiful. Now the thing is, we often think that to master something is the same, you need 10,000 hours to master it. Right? And that's a very long time. Yeah. But actually there's someone who said that you can actually be pretty proficient if you spend 20 hours in deliberate practice. That's why people talk about mindfulness. That's why people talk about gratitude. You shift how you act, how you think. And you'll notice that the whole world around you shifts. All because you shift. All because of you shift. Now I learned that a lot from a lot of wise men and women. And when you're actually in that moment, you feel it. That's why I help people. And to be honest, it was not easy. This is me before. I was secluded from the world before. I didn't like people. I was angry. I was upset. I even wore sunglasses inside. Yeah. It wasn't a nice life. People thought I was cool because I acted cool. Right? They said, wow, Kimball, you should have all these things. You know, like this, right? But in reality, you didn't. And this is before Facebook came out. Right? I was doing it in real life, curated version. I could change, and I did change. And anyone can, if you put your time and your mind to it. And sometimes it takes big jolts in life. Big jolts. Think of like, we talk about the midlife crisis, right? When you finally decide to exercise when you know you should because you had a heart attack. I hope you guys don't have to wait to that moment. I hope this is enough to get you guys started. So you can and will change your life. Do you mind if I just share a little bit about myself? Just a little bit? Yeah? Just because you know who I am, what makes sense or whatever. So, and you can take it or leave it, by the way. I'm just sharing. Take what you think is good and leave the rest is not. So, I'm a communication trainer. I help people, the companies. I work on empathy-based training. So, communications, conflict resolution, leadership, mindset, influence. And often it's about that, willingness to work with one another that solves all this. There's no special word, no special process, no special framework. Each one may work in its own specific variables and frames and everything, but the difference that makes it consistently evolve and grow is the willingness to be empathetic to the other person and work together. The reason why I showed you the photos of conflict and nurture is when we picked a fixed way of doing versus another fixed way of doing, and you've got nowhere to go until one collapses. That's it. But if you're open, then you're now open to have conversations, maneuverability, negotiation, to find a solution that fits both sides. Now, if you believe in just direction, then go ahead. That's the way it is. I will pretty much guarantee you things will remain the same as it is, or probably get worse. But when you are open to it, just like in a relationship with your loved one, your family, your husband, your wife, you're constantly negotiating to make sure that whatever products, whatever teams, whatever issues you face can be resolved. Or at least be willing to work together to resolve it. So then, how can you really develop it? Like I said, yeah.
And yeah, you have to face confrontation. But how do you do it effectively in an empathetic way?
So the first thing is, do you think about the other person and how they would feel? And that's when confrontation comes in, right? Sometimes if you drop a bomb, you empathize, you understand that people will blow up. That just happens. We do that. Even if the person we love the most at home, for no apparent reason, we have to do the dishes and all of a sudden we just blow up, right? We cannot get it. But if you empathize, you might also understand how then best to interact in that space. So we talk about safe spaces. That slows down or at least mitigates some confrontation, right? The big thing that stops with it is the willingness that you want to work with them. Right? If you think I'm here for a fight, don't expect them not to come back with a fight. It's just who we are. You fight, I fight. But if you come in and they think it's a fight, and then you realize, look, I'm really not here to fight, and I really want to work together, right? You'll notice that the shift of mindset, confrontation, no longer confrontation, it comes into negotiation. Right? Now, it's unfortunate for some of us who are managers, you might have to fire somebody, or you might have to do something very hard. But I've known people who let go people in a very amicable, very friendly, actually in great ways where they keep working together later. The question is, how do they do that? How did that happen? Right? So that's where empathy comes in. Because then you find a way that you can interact in that space. And you can also empathize that maybe that person just doesn't want to talk to you anymore. Yeah, have a certain situation. Yeah. So if you feel like that too, then you repeat. All things is a mindset of willing to work with the other person from his side, of the point of view. Trying to find a way to have a amicable resolution. Help?
It does.
Yeah.
Can I have a follow-up question?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, out of your exercises, the things to try, what jumped up at me is the look at it from 3 different perspectives. I'll admit for me, I'm not an empathetic person, so it is really hard to put myself in other people's shoes naturally. It's like I really have to try, but what are other ways that I could work on that in developing that area?
Get get to a point where you feel like you want to die, or you're so afraid of something, or you don't know what, right? And then you notice how you react. You're exploding, you're anxious, whatever, right? Once you start aware of this, and this is what triggers you and what creates you in this emotion, whatever it could be, right? It could just be going outside for coffee, meeting some random person, or whatever. Then, when you start being very aware, you see that same reaction from someone. That when you can start, this is cognitive, get yourself in that position. Why would he react so agitatedly? Why is he very confrontationally? Did I say something in a way that made him feel threatened? Maybe you did, right? For example. And that's the key thing. Get yourself an experience, because when you start experiencing things, when your emotion is ripped out, or like really amped up, you'll notice it from other people's too. Yeah? Because you'll notice your body tingling. Because what we do naturally, it's called emotional contagion. You will naturally empathize with people. We did that to survive as humans. Otherwise, we literally would be like killing each other all the time. Right? We work together in a space. Now, today's society, we calm it down, right? Because we think logic and all that stuff. But there's a balance. There's a balance. Because we know emotion is exploded also not so great, right? Yeah. So get that emotion, get out there, whatever it is. Put yourself in a really stressful situation. You'll feel that sensation, your heart pounding, your hair sweating, whatever it is. You'll notice it, and then when you meet other people, you might even see that, and then it helps you just, oh shoot, yeah, okay, he's like that. I remember when I was like that, I was not good. I was very unhappy with it. Another exercise.
Just to add on, a lot of what you said today is also covered by emotional intelligence, right? Yeah. So, if I remember correctly, in emotional intelligence, it starts with self-awareness, then self-management, then empathy or something comes after that, both phases. So the first thing you gotta do, like you said, is you gotta know yourself. And the question is, do you really know yourself? And you really know yourself when basically your feet is to the fire, your heart's pounding, and you know your own limits. And then when you know yourself, then you can see yourself and others, and that's where a lot of the empathy comes in. So just to go back to what Prakash asked earlier in the presentation. When I was a lot younger, I was a real asshole. Right? I was a really good developer, so I thought, and Chula, where are you? Chula? Okay, so Chula, I worked with her 7 years? Is it 7 years ago? I've not seen you in 7 years. Right? She was on my team, and in that year, I lost half my team. Because I think they actually hated me because I hated them. Right? They could not live up to my standard. Like, I was cranking out code like crazy. Every one feature they do, I would do 5. And I was thinking, bloody hell, I'm holding up the whole product. I'm doing it all myself. These guys are idiots, they're assholes, they're incompetent. And you know what they did? I quit. Or like, I'm not gonna do that. You want me to do that? I'm gonna do it through the teeth. And then before you know it, just kind of like left me hanging. Correct. And that was really hard on me because that whole path about me holding up the team, all this resentment, I felt really alone, to be honest. And that's when I think when I started working with you, I was feel a lot better. And you were the first one where I actually said, you know what? We're not all the same. We're all different. And I think I actually coached you a lot more. That was actually the start of my coaching experience where I just sit down and listen and understand and share and not be so pushy and try to think about how you feel. And what I'm going to say now is I'm actually a very different person now than when you knew me. Right? Because I went through all that crap. So I went through a lot of crap in the last 7 years. And sometimes all the crap and the junk and the difficult parts that you go through that you really grow yourself. You really grow yourself. And you know what you're going to feel. If you go in a stressful situation, you know how you're going to be. If you talk to an entrepreneur, right, when you start in early 20s, everything's a mess. You talk to them at 35, golden. For the stuff they've gone through, but they're doing bigger stuff. Right? So that's part of the growth. The growth is just doing harder things, doing uncomfortable things, working through it, failing, succeeding, whatever it is, but going through that process. So I completely agree with you. Other questions?
You were in the military, and the military is like a machine kind of. There's no role for emotions. You just follow orders and things get done. So do you think if there's too much of empathy, it sort of has an impact on decision making and it makes it a much more inefficient sort of organization?
I guess I'd say yes and no. It really depends on the situation. So for example, if you had a highly oiled machine, highly specialized, you do it, you're very good at that when you hit that situation. What happens to specialized creatures? They go extinct. They go extinct, right? We talked about all the different types of humanoids before. They specialize, they get wiped out. So yes, certain jobs in the army is very specialized. You do that. You talk about the top guys, the special forces, they have crazy ability to really dive into different situations. People, they have to go undercover into situations, pretending to be the other person, other group, not to get, caught. So yes, there's a balance, and that's where you can help decide from your experience, from your intellect, where the nice situation needs to be. I'm not going to say one extreme you need to be very emotional, one extreme you need to be so rigid. No, life is too complex. The situation is too complex. There's certain things you can be rigid, certain things I think will require flexibility. Okay, so we got 9 minutes left. Any more questions? We can start open afterwards.
Is empathetic professional an oxymoron?
I would say no. Why would it be?
Because professionals normally, like when you're handing over pink slip, I know, they just let you go. The empathy doesn't come in between, right?
No. I got let go from the investment bank actually. I was a very nice way. And actually, I'll tell you how it worked. He basically told me, he said, Kimball, you can stay if you want to stay. I have to let people go now. But you said you want to move on and do some other stuff. If you want to stay, I'll let you stay. But if you stay, I'm going to lay off someone else. You want 6 more months to get someone else at a job? He understood me because I was so stuck in I was talking to the only guy I really coached in my bank, my investment banking, my third big boss out of many, right? And he got excited. He said, I'm not sure I want to be in this job anymore. He said, great, let's do 6 months, certain roles if you think it's interesting. We'll touch base and see that we're going to continue. And that's when he brought the conversation up. Right? And he really got me. And he obviously worked with me on vision, getting other jobs I wanted to, hook up the connections. He understood. I left. It was a very difficult situation.
So sometimes when people get too professional and they don't act empathetically, what we should make out of them? They are being good, or they are just being professional, or they are being just
when I hear people use the mantle of professionalism, there's a certain fear inside them. Fear that I'm going to get sucked into the situation. I might start crying, I might start getting angry, I might start getting defensive. The veil of professionalism is like a wall to say, I don't want to feel you, I don't want to know the situation. I'm so uncomfortable in these certain situations, I want professionalism to protect me. So the facade is a mask, it's a wall. Right? Just as a suit may be, or why we might feel awkward not to wear a suit at a certain meeting. These things are there to protect us. And you know what? There's certain roles for it, but I think if you want to get at the very top peak, empathy is definitely needed. You need people, because if you're a specialist, you're probably just going to be around at the bottom range of the working force, with the legs or the arms. Maybe junior management, but you'll never get higher than that. You wouldn't. You just wouldn't survive. You'd find a way. You'd just get crushed over and over. You wouldn't know why. And I used to do a course called Why Senior Vice Presidents of Controls Can Never Become CFOs. It's pretty much that. Too technical. Can never deal with people. Streets, all those guys, publicity, CEOs, marketing, they're going to eat you up and rip you up. You don't understand people.
Do you think Steve Jobs was a professional person or an empathetic person?
Sorry?
Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs? That's very interesting, yeah. It's debatable, I guess. I think they say people are kind of considered psychopaths and stuff like that, con artists. They are very empathetic cognitively. Understand how people think, they understand what makes people tick, but they don't feel the emotion. I don't know if Steve Jobs like that, but in a way you kind of can see that, right? He's a genius. He helped create products that people love and created, right? He also really just understood cognitively how people thought, how people like to do something, right? I don't know enough, but that would be my wager. That would be my wager.
Yeah, but to his credit, I mean, before he went to Next Computers, he was seen as an asshole and he just sucked dealing with people. But when he basically got fired from Apple, that's when he had that massive turnaround moment in his life, and he learned, yeah, people are key to my success.
He went to India, didn't he? Right? And basically went on a trip for exploration and self-awareness.
There you go. They know him better than I do, so yeah. That makes a lot of sense, right? He's now been forced. There's a breaking point. I always call that when you get in a certain pattern, break it, right? The problem is if you don't do something about it next, Shuhari, you don't master it, you might go back to the old pattern. So obviously he was forced to so hard and someone just literally slammed all the brakes on him. And he goes, I need to really review what the heck I just did and what happened. Beware.
I think this one is Steve Jobs thing, this is my thought, right? I think he was an extremely empathetic person, which is probably why his presentations were so awesome. Because when he got upset, when he was happy, when he was excited about a feature, you could feel it because he was emitting it in his body. You know, like when he got excited, you got excited. Yeah. When he got pissed, you got pissed. You know, and I think that's a real mark of empathy is he was able to emit like emote.
Okay, I'll just do one caution. Con artists are very good at this. No, it's true, right? They are superb at cognitive empathy. They understand people so well. It's like, kind of Donald Trump, that they can emit in some way that you would fall in, even though they may not, right? So it's a balanced life. These are the outliers. These are the radicals and mutants in the human population who take advantage. That's why they say these guys, they could be the most charming guy who's a serial killer. I hate to say it, right? But it is true. If they understand in a cognitive sense how people work, how people think, they just may not actually feel the emotion. Or actually the third part of empathy called compassionate empathy. It's when you feel about the person and you feel like you want to do something about it to help them. Yeah? They just probably don't have that.
Okay, we got time for one more question. This is the last question.
Can I just ask, I open let's say you go to a bank, and then you open with empathy, like, oh, I'm having this problem and everything. I don't know if this happens wherever you come from, but here, I feel that the more I give in, the more they take advantage of me, until it reaches a point where I've been waiting for 2 hours, and then I get confrontational, and then something happens. So how do we avoid something like that? Or it's just that I just have to always reach a stage where I'm so confrontational that everyone's just scared and, oh, let me start over.
I'll give you my 2 cents. I'm in a situation like that all the time. That's one of the big frustrations here. In Singapore, actually. I always thought, like, first world country, what the heck, why is this stuff so slow? Why is it this way? If you're empathetic to them, you probably would realize that there's something else happening in their world. Okay? They're probably getting stressed, they're probably getting pushed, they're probably getting crazy, and that's why they then, unfortunately, pass along. The whole ship rolls downhill kind of thing. It's easier to pay it forward than to just deal with it. And then when you start yelling, in their mind, this is what's happening. Who am I going to get yelled at more? My boss? This client? Yeah? And then they're quickly going, okay, let's figure it out. Subconsciously, right? There's a fear-driven thing. Now, some of those guys, that's why people go super aggressive. They realize this person's motivated by fear or avoidance of certain situations. So I'm going to make it even bigger, even scarier. That's why they listen. And very hyper-aggressive environments are sometimes like that. I see that all the time. I was in the liquor business where guys would be in your face saying F off, F off, F off. I had guys that had, guns with their security guards, right? And guys would make veiled threats. Pretty scary stuff. Yeah? They understand, they feel that their environment needs that. Their experiences are shaped them by that way. Some of those guys, by the way, they're super empathetic because they understand the triggers of people. That's why they do it. They're most super charming one day, all of a sudden, biggest asshole, right? You could have ever imagined. Now, I was in awe. That's one of my learning points where he literally would just wink at me and then he would go crazy on my vendors. Absolutely crazy to the point where they gave up so much. They gave us like $300,000 worth of credit for another 3 months. He just went, give it, watch me, I'm going to take care of these guys. And then he just goes, oh my God, I can't believe you guys did this, what's going on? And they just, whoa, okay, sir, I'll work really hard now, much better, and let me help you by giving you some stuff. Unfortunately, he takes advantage of people, I thought at the time, just for fun, just to share, that I could play the game as well, but I couldn't take advantage of it.
Well, that was our last question. I just want to Let's give Kimbo a round of applause. Was it worth your hour and a half here?
Yeah.
Yeah? Can I have it by applause? If you think you had a good time and you learned something new, you can just help Kimbo out by giving him some feedback. Because part of improving, and this is the Agile way, is to get feedback. So
This is how I become empathetic. I'm just for you guys. He's here.
So yeah, please fill him out. Before I let you go,
over there.
before I let you go, just a couple of things. May I know who are the developers or technical people here? Okay. If you didn't already know, myself and YC back there, hey YC, right, and a couple of other guys, Nick here, we're organizing a technical conference called Geek Camp. That's happening on March 19th. It's really cheap. It's really awesome. There's going to be lots of technical speakers there. If you go to geekcamp.my, that's geekcamp.my, you can still see who the speakers are. It's at Mixed Space, and you get a ticket. If you're interested to know more, talk to YC.
Next Saturday.
Yeah, it's next week.
Alright, that's it. Next month's meetup is going to be at Booster, that's over in Mid Valley. And for those interested, alright, usually what happens, because I see a lot of new faces here, right? What usually happens is we're free to take you for a walk about how Nintex does things. If you're not familiar, Nintex, we are basically a software product company. We help a lot of large customers, large enterprises actually be more efficient, more effective by automating a lot of processes and giving time back to the employees. So we actually help businesses be a lot better. That's our space. And why we're doing this kind of meetups at Nintex is because, well, number one, I'm a Nintex employee. I really love working here because we're really agile. So this is an agile meetup. If you want to learn more from us, we're always willing to share. There's a couple of Ninsters in the back. Raise your hand. Right? More than willing to help out, right? So if you want to know more about Nintex, go back there. I want to shout out my boss. If you think I'm awesome, my boss is more awesome. It's back there, Steve. Hi, Steve. Right, he's my boss. He knows a lot of stuff about Kanban and Lean and Agile. So while he's here, sorry if you're in spot, Steve. Go ahead and ask him some questions. Okay? All right. Thank you very much for
One last thing. Big thank you for you guys coming in and Nintex. Round of applause.
Hey, let's take a quick picture. You want to use your phone? You want to use my phone? All right.
Can we take a week, please?
I don't know if it's going to fit, but hey, all right. Thank you for coming.